Welcome to a new episode of Norway Perspectives, brought to you by Norway Relocation Group, here to guide you through every step of relocating to and building a successful life in Norway. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest challenges newcomers face: finding a place to live. If you're moving to Norway, whether for work, study, family, or a fresh start, you'll need to understand how the rental market works, what to expect in different cities, how to avoid scams, and what rights you have as a tenant. This episode will walk you through the entire process of finding housing in Norway, including how the rental market is structured, what types of housing are available, where to search for listings, what documents landlords require, how deposits and leases work, what to expect in terms of costs, short-term versus long-term strategy, and key legal protections for tenants. Let's get started. Understanding the Norwegian rental market. Norway has a fairly regulated and transparent housing market, but it works differently from what many newcomers are used to. First, the majority of Norwegians own their homes, especially outside of major cities. However, in urban centers like Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger, many people, especially students, young professionals, and international workers, rent. Rentals are typically privately owned properties offered by individuals, not large rental companies. This means there's variation in standards, communication styles, and expectations. The rental market is also highly digital. Listings, applications, contracts, and even viewings are often handled online. But because demand is high, especially in Oslo and Bergen, good listings disappear fast. Where to search for rentals? The most commonly used housing site in Norway is finn.no. It's the national online marketplace for housing, jobs, services, and more. On Finn, you can search by city or region, filter by number of rooms, size, price, or furnished status, see photos, maps, and neighborhood information, contact landlords or agencies directly. Other platforms include hybel, no, useful for student housing or shared apartments. Facebook groups, such as Apartments for Rent in Oslo or Leie i Bergen, university housing portals. If you're a student, local newspapers, less common but still used in rural areas. Finn remains the most trusted and widely used. However, listings move quickly, so set up alerts and be ready to respond immediately. Types of housing in Norway. There are several types of rentals you might come across. Apartments, leilighet. These are the most common in cities. They may be part of larger buildings with shared entrances. Detached houses, enebolig. Rare for renters, but sometimes available in suburbs or small towns. Semi-detached or row houses, rekkehus. These are multi-floor homes attached to others in a row, more common in family-oriented areas. Shared housing, kollektiv. Popular with students and young adults. You rent a room and share the kitchen and bathroom. Studio or one-room apartments, hybel. These are often basement or attic apartments within a larger house, usually with a private entrance and bathroom. Furnished versus unfurnished. Furnished includes furniture, kitchenware, and possibly appliances. Unfurnished often still includes built-in kitchen cabinets and wardrobes, but not much else. Short-term versus long-term. Short-term leases, under 12 months, are less common and often more expensive. Most landlords prefer stable, long-term tenants. Rental prices and deposits. Rental prices vary significantly depending on the city and neighborhood. In Oslo, one-bedroom apartments in the city center range from 13,000 to 18,000 kroner per month. Outside the center, expect 10,000 to 13,000 kroner. Shared housing, private room, 6,000 to 9,000 kroner. In Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger, prices are typically 10 to 20% lower than Oslo. In small towns or rural areas, you can often find full apartments for under 9,000 kroner. Most landlords ask for first month's rent in advance, a deposit equal to 3 months' rent, held in a dedicated Norwegian deposit account. The deposit must be returned to you when the lease ends, provided there's no damage or unpaid rent. It cannot legally be paid in cash or held in the landlord's personal account. What landlords require from you. To apply for a rental, landlords often ask for a copy of your ID or passport, your D number or FISL's number, proof of employment or income, a reference from a previous landlord, optional but helpful, length of intended stay, information about whether you smoke or have pets. In some cases, landlords may prefer Norwegian citizens or people who speak Norwegian, but this is not legal grounds for discrimination. If you don't yet have a job or ID number, you can sometimes negotiate a larger deposit or use a Norwegian guarantor. Alternatively, consider short-term rentals while you establish local documents. Lease agreements and legal rights rental contracts in Norway are governed by the Tenancy Act, which protects both landlords and tenants. Standard lease contracts include monthly rent and deposit amount address and details of the unit lease start and end dates. Notice period, usually 3 months. Rules about pets, smoking, subletting, and maintenance. Responsibility for utilities. You should never rent without a written contract. Tenants are usually responsible for minor maintenance, like replacing light bulbs or cleaning. Landlords handle major repairs, plumbing, and structural issues. If your landlord breaks the contract, increases rent unfairly, or refuses to fix serious issues, you can seek help from the local housing dispute board, known as Husleietvistutvalget. Avoiding scams. Scams are unfortunately on the rise, especially for international renters searching from abroad. Here's how to protect yourself. Never send money before signing a contract. Always verify the property and landlord identity. Be suspicious of listings with no photos or very low prices. Use official platforms like Finn, not WhatsApp or Telegram. Avoid listings that require Western Union or crypto payments. If something feels off, trust your instincts. If possible, ask a Norwegian friend or relocation expert to review the contract with you before you pay. Short-term rentals and temporary solutions. If you're still waiting for paperwork, a D number, or your first salary, consider starting with Airbnb or serviced apartments, more expensive but flexible. University housing if you're a student, relocation services that offer temporary housing, sublets, mellomly, from Norwegians going abroad temporarily. These options give you time to get settled and look for long-term housing without pressure. However, make sure your short-term housing is registered with the government, as you'll need a legal address to receive mail, register your ID, and access services. Long-term strategy. From renting to owning. Many newcomers begin by renting, but after 1 to 3 years, it's common to consider buying. Here are a few reasons why. Mortgage rates in Norway are competitive. Buying can be cheaper in the long run. You build equity rather than spending on rent. If you plan to stay long-term, it gives more security. To buy property, you'll need permanent residence or legal long-term stay. Proof of income. A Norwegian bank account. Usually at least 15% of the purchase price as a down payment. Foreigners are allowed to buy property in Norway, but you must prove your financial capacity and legal residence. Final thoughts. Finding a home in Norway is more than just signing a lease. It's about creating stability, comfort, and a foundation for your new life. The process may feel overwhelming at first, especially if you're dealing with new paperwork, language barriers, or competitive listings. But with the right approach, clear documentation, realistic expectations, trusted platforms like Finn and Patience, you'll find a safe, welcoming, and stable place to call home. Norway Perspectives is brought to you by Norway Relocation Group, helping people like you move to Norway with expert support in housing, registration, schools, and more. If this episode helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's planning their move. And if you're looking to learn the language and integrate fully, visit NLS Norwegian Language School at nlsnorwegian.no for flexible courses online or in Oslo. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of Norway Perspectives.